Yes, sorry about that, Sharks and Parramatta fans. I haven't missed out on your sides. I did not forget, but my phone, which I'm recording off, overheated. I have a fan blowing right into us, and yet it's overheated in the centre of excellence. So I'm over summer now. I'm just ready. I live in South Australia in the Adelaide Hills. Moved from Sydney a few years ago. And sometimes in the summer here, it can get really, really fucking hot, especially in the center of excellence. And a lot of the times when I record here in the summer, it is extremely hot, even with a fan going. So the phone just crashed and the app said, the phone is overheated, stopped recording. So I'm just going to do a quick part two of these last couple of games. So the Sharks and Parramatta, this game is on Sunday, February 15th at 6 p.m. Let's go through the Sharks players that will stand out. Sam Stone Street is named in the number 5 jersey in this game, and he will be replacing Ronaldo Mulitalo on the wing for a large portion of this season, as Ronaldo, I think, did his ACL at the later stages of last year. I think in the Pacific Championship, he may have torn it, I think. Niue Puru at halfback, he played in the number 7 jersey for the Indigenous All-Stars, I'm pretty sure, last year, and did a really, really good job, a terrific job in that 7 jersey. Braden Hamlin-Uele, Jaden Berrell, number 9, and Thomas Hazelton, who was one of Cronulla's best last year, and so was number 11, Billy Burns, lining up in the second row position. Sifa Talakai in the 12 jersey. We all know he can play edge forward. Centre, he carved Morgan Harper up in 2022. I haven't forgot that. Toby Rudolph lining up in the 13 jersey, which is interesting. Cameron McInnes will be injured for half the season, their captain. So Toby Rudolph, he could start there. Personally, I think they might go with Jesse Colquhoun to start the season at lock forward, but Toby Rudolph in the 13 jersey, that may indicate that he could start round 1 there. So going to be interesting to see how he goes in this game. On the bench, Riley Jones, Bradley Fernley, Felix Fartilli, and Harrison Hassett, number 17 jersey. Looking at the other players, haven't really heard of anyone really from 18 to 24, so that may indicate that, maybe only a couple of them may make their debut for Cronulla this year, but apparently from what I hear at the Sharks around the grounds in rugby league is that their nursery at Cronulla is fucking outstanding. Like, they've got so many great young players coming through the ranks there. So I'd be interested to see these players named from 18 to 24. I've got to be honest, I've never heard of any of them apart from Nicola Williams. I've heard of him, but no, I've got to say the other ones I haven't heard of, and I'm yet to play first grade. So really interested to see how those players play when they come on fresh in the second half, you'd believe. Parramatta, they've named a reasonably strong lineup. Isaiah Yongi at fullback, Viliami Penasini in the number 3 jersey. Sean Russell lining up in centre. For me, I think he might start the season on the wing if Bailey Simonson doesn't start on the wing, which he's named on the other wing on number 5. Joash Parley, he, in my opinion, will be their future 5'8". So when Jonah Pezzett plays 5'8", this year, and then he goes to the Broncos for season 2027, I reckon Joash Papali will line up alongside Moses in the halves for season 2027 and beyond. Jonah Pezzett lining up in the 7 jersey. Really interested to see Jonah Pezzett in this trial match. Obviously, he will wear the number 6 jersey for the Parramatta Eels this season, but Mitchell Moses, it's not a guarantee that he'll play a full season. If you look at the last 2-3 seasons, he's been injured consistently. It's just been one injury after another, and I feel really bad for Mitchell Moses and the Parramatta Eels supporters. So whether or not his body will be able to get him through a full season of NRL, I'm not sure, because there's no doubt that if he does, he'll play Origin as well, and whether or not his body can handle around 30 games this season, I'm not sure. But I've got no doubt that, Mitchell Moses, even if there's Origin that period, he will get selected, do you think, in the halves. I thought he was outstanding in game 1 last year. So there's no doubt there'd be at least a couple of games where Jonah Pezzett will play the 7. And I don't think, you look at the last few years when Mitchell Moses does get injured, he is injured. Well, I know that, but in terms of Parramatta are fucked. That's what I mean. Like, when he's injured, like, the team is injured. Like, that they play broken. Like the system when Moses is injured is broken because they haven't had a genuine number 7 to direct them around. They tried that with Dylan Brown at the early stages of last year, and Dylan Brown is not a number 7. He's a genuine number 6. But now you've got a genuine number 7, Jonah Pezzett. So if Mitchell Moses does get injured, or if he, if he misses a few games due to the origin period, Jonah Pezzett will wear that 7 at some stage for Parramatta this year. And I just think he's a genuine number 7. And I think when he did play 7 for Melbourne in those few games he's had for them over the last few years, I think he's done a pretty good job. I think he played around 11 or 12 games since 2022. So I think he's done a really good job for them when he has played there in the halves. And I'm interested to see how he goes in this game. So if you're a Parramatta fan, I reckon you watch closely at Jonah Pezzett, because I reckon he will wear that 7 jersey for a fair few times in season 2026. Really interested here. Jermaine Hopgood in the number 8 jersey. For me, he lines up in the 8. He finished the season as a front rower last year in the number 8 jersey, but for me, he's a lock forward. Jack Williams started the season, played the first half of the season last year in the number 8 jersey, and I thought he did a really good job for Parramatta. I thought he was one of the better buys of the season. Jack Williams from the Cronulla Sharks over to the Parramatta Eels. Jermaine Hopgood for me is a lock forward. But, I guess they're looking for a ball-playing front rower, a bit like Jimmy Graham at the Bulldogs. I just think that he's a 13, and I think if I'm the coach, if you ask Parramatta fans, I think they'd prefer to see him in the 13 jersey and possibly Jack de Belin off the bench. De Belin's 33 years old now, I'm pretty sure. He's in the final couple of years of his career. You'd think he'd line up for Papua New Guinea in season 2028. As he plays for Papua New Guinea in the internationals. So, going to be interesting to see how they go. They've also relied on in the halves Ronald Volkman as well, played a couple of games last year. Not a bad player, but, is he a consistent first grader? Probably not at this stage of his career. I apologise for my finger getting in the way there. Talon De Silva lining up in the 14 jersey here. And guys, I know it's week 2 of the trials, but you're probably getting an indication of what coaches are possibly thinking of. I'm looking more at the bench through the team lists rather than the starting 13, just to see. I think they're trying to understand with this 6-man bench rule, they can only play 4 of the 6. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And I think they want to try and get their bench right. And, they've got Jordan Samrani in the 16, Charlie Geimer at 15. So Jordan Samrani, when he played last year, I thought he did a really good job for the Parramatta Eels. Really a real strong, big body, quite tall, athletic. Richard Penasini, the brother of William Penasini. So Parramatta, they're looking strong in 2026, I've got to say. They won't be, I don't think they'll make the finals, to be honest, but I reckon 2027 they will, and I reckon they're just going to have a good building year. And I think they're definitely a club in the right direction. They're definitely a club that I reckon can make the finals without a doubt, and see how we go. Now, the last game, this is on Sunday afternoon, I believe, at 3:15 p.m. So that the Cronulla Parramatta game, I'm pretty sure, is on Sunday at around 6 o'clock. This is 3:15. So this will be your first game of the NRL men's, but the women's game starts at 1 o'clock. I live in Adelaide, so it could be at 1:30. We're half an hour behind Sydney time. Let's have a look at this. So the Maori team and the Indigenous side. Let's have a look at this. So fullback for the Indigenous is Keano Kinney. Fullback for the Maori side is Keano Kinney, and then you've got Trey Fuller, the fullback of the Indigenous side. The wingers, Jojo Fafita, and the Indigenous winger is Josh Addo-Carr, the number 2 jersey. The centres for the Maori, Casey McLean, and the centre, the number 3 jersey, for the Indigenous All-Stars is Jack Whiten. And then you've got the centre for the Maori side is Mawene Hiroti, and then the centre for the Indigenous side, the other side is Jesse Ramian, a fantastic centre. So good defensively for the Cronulla Sharks. So it's good to see him line up again in this game. The winger for the Maori side, number 5, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, and the 5 for the Indigenous side is Alofi Khan Pereira. 5'8", Shans Nickel Klokstad, and 5'8" from the Indigenous is Braden Trindle. He lines up against Tamare Martin for Maori halfback, and the halfback for the Indigenous is Nicho Hynes. Let's look at the forwards. Trey Mooney for the Maori side, Josh Kerr for the Indigenous side, who captained them last year. Zach Docker-Clay for the Maori side, just signed with Manly. Hooker will be Connor Watson for the Indigenous side. The prop, Leo Thompson, gone to the Bulldogs for season 2026 alongside Shaq Mitchell for the Indigenous side. The second rower is Britton Okora, such a strong runner against Tallis Duncan. Jacob Laban in the 12 jersey against Josh Patson for the Indigenous side. The lock is James Fisher-Harris, who you'd think will probably captain this side. And the lock for the Indigenous side is Hohepa Puru. The Indigenous, the interchange for the Maori is Trent Talau at 14, 14 Jamal Fogarty, interesting, 15 Royce Hunt, 15 Jaden Campbell, 16 Preston Ricky, 16 Caden Lards for the Indigenous side, and the 17 Joe Chan for the Maori side, and the 17 is Blake Steep for the Indigenous side. So that is the Indigenous and Maori All-Stars game. It is going to be a really good game. Just dissecting those lineups for that game. It's fucking strong, isn't it, for both those teams? Like, you know, over the years we've seen, you know, reserve graders, and a lot of reserve graders play in these games because NRL clubs don't want their stars and their best players playing in this game in case there's a season-ending injury, which we have seen over the years to some players that have participated in these matches since 2010. But, you know, I think there's a real strong chance that this could go into Golden Point. Like, I can't split them. Looking at these lineups, they are absolutely fantastic. It's going to be absolutely incredible to watch this game. I reckon it'll be one of the better games of the weekend. I really do believe that. There's passion, there's culture, there's everything. It's going to be in New Zealand. From what I'm hearing at the moment, I saw a promo the other day. It'll be in New Zealand, so I reckon they'll get a sold-out crowd there. Last time it was in New Zealand, there was a huge crowd watching this game. And you look at the players. I mean, even the stars on the bench for the Indigenous side, for example. You know, Jamal Fogarty, you know, Jaden Campbell, like there are stars right across it. I was interested seeing Jamal Fogarty named. He's worn the 7 plenty of times for the Indigenous All-Stars in the last 5-6 years especially. But Nicho Hynes and Braden Trindle, just makes sense that they line up in the halves together as they are the halves combination for Cronulla and have been now for 2 years since Matty Moylan left or retired. So, yeah, going to be really interesting to see. Jesse Arthur's name on the reserves in the number 20 jersey for the Maori side. It'll be interesting to see if he gets a crack in this game. So, yeah, look, it's going to be a good game. I actually remember watching that game for the first time in 2010 when it was actually the NRL All-Stars versus the Indigenous All-Stars, and what a fantastic game it was. It was absolutely unbelievable. Brendel Saylor scoring one of the first tries from a little grubber kick of Scott Prince. He got the corner post and did the didgeridoo try celebration. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And I think Jamie Soward ended up winning that game with a try in the final 5 minutes of the game. And I think in the Indigenous All-Stars won that game in the final, as I mentioned, 5 minutes. And Preston Campbell won best player of the match, I think, in that game, lifted up the trophy. Darren Lockyer back then was the captain of the NRL All-Stars. It was such a big moment of the game. And sure, it probably hasn't lived up to the hype that they thought it could be back in 2010. I remember Wayne Bennett said this could be the next Origin. It definitely hasn't lived up to that, but I think it's a game that really needs to happen. I think, you know, culture. I think we've got to respect the different cultures of the game. We celebrate multicultural round in rugby league, and I think it's really important, very, very important to a lot of these players that they do participate and play in these matches representing their families, their tribes, their people, themselves. You know, I think it's just going to be a really, really interesting concept, and I hope they continue doing it. There's talk that they may finish wrapping it up, and but I hope they continue it because I think it's something that they need to play. And my opinion, I mean, like I might be wrong, but in my opinion, I think you'd much rather a player like I think just the passion when you see them perform before the games, like the passion and uh, it's so special. Just sometimes I just watch it and think, gee, I wish I was playing in this game, even though I'd get absolutely smashed. But there's just so much emotion. And I think a lot of players, it's a highlight of their careers playing in a game like this, representing their people. It's a real highlight for them. I think a lot of players really feel privileged and honoured to wear the jerseys that they're representing over the weekend. So to scrap the game, I totally disagree with. And I'm really glad to see that, this game is full of really packed out stars like that. It's really good. It's absolutely fantastic. Like Keanu Kinney lining up for the Maori side at fullback, and then Shan's in the sixth jersey. Like, it's good. We've got some fucking real elite superstars in this game, and Nico Hines, sure, he's a bit hot and cold and has been over the last 3 seasons, but when he's hot, he fucking is one of the best players in the game. And I thought he finished the season really well for Cronulla last year. I understand they lost to Melbourne in the prelim final, but I thought Nico Hines, when he came back from that injury, I thought his final series was absolutely fantastic in that number 7 jersey. He just let Braden Trindle control the side, and Nico just played more of a 5'8", even though he wore the 7 off his back, and he played like a player that didn't even play with overly much pressure in that final series too. So if you're a Cronulla fan, you're really looking forward to Sunday to watch your team play, but then to also watch Nico Hines and Braden Trindle combine in this game, and just make sure that no one. Hope I'm not jinxing it here, but you're hoping that no one gets injured for Cronulla on the Sunday, because obviously when that game, the Indigenous All-Stars game finishes, you've got some NRL players playing in that Cronulla side as well. So with the injury of Cameron McInnes, I reckon it's really important that, yes, they've got depth, but you don't want any more injuries, especially with your captain is down for at least half the season. So that will do us. I know it's been a long couple of episodes. Well, the first episode was 28 minutes, and this one is almost 17 minutes. So thank you for tuning in. If you've been listening or watching this whole time, you are an absolute fucking legend. Thank you very much. And if you enjoy what you're watching, if you enjoy what you're listening, please follow on Spotify, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Rugby League Forecast Podcast. That is Rugby League Forecast Podcast. And I'm so glad the footy's back. So basically over the next few days, I'll start getting into season previews. I really just want to make that as close as I possibly can to the season, because I don't want to do a proper season preview until I've seen a couple of trials from the sides. So, I'll try and start doing that closer to the season. Basically, the structure of the season will be, I'll be doing a lot of content over February, trial reviews, team list Tuesdays, whatnot, getting a bit of momentum going into the season. And then when the season starts, I'll be doing a Tuesday review of the games. We'll be breaking down team lists on Wednesdays and whatnot. And then also we'll be previewing the rounds on Thursdays as well. And then Origin, we'll break down Origin halfway through the season, and the podcast will continue up until the mid-November stage of the season, which is when the World Cup, Rugby League World Cup, will finish around, I think it's the 15th of November. I'm pretty sure the final is at Suncorp Stadium this year. And then the podcast will continue. It'll just keep continuing, but it will get a bit quieter from November onwards, obviously, as we enter the off-season. But in the off-season, if you've been listening from the beginning, I've been going through Rugby League Grand Final reviews. 2025, well, I've now reviewed all of the sides and their season previews. If you haven't, season reviews, if you haven't listened to them yet, please go on the YouTube, scroll down and go back to your side. I know the Broncos and the Melbourne Storm and the Cronulla Sharks, Penrith Panthers got a fair few views. Manly got a fair few views as well, but I think the Broncos was the popular one. Doesn't surprise me too with how big their club is and supporter base as well. And, winning the premiership, I've got no doubt that many people would want to listen to any Broncos season reviews from any podcasters out there. So thank you very much for listening. The lights, I should have turned the lights on as it is getting absolutely dark now. The Mozzies are coming out, so that's time for me to wrap up this podcast. Thank you very much for listening. That is Team List Tuesday for, I think I've just done 9 games and broke down all the players that I think will be ones to watch in season 2026. So if you're taking your trials seriously like I do, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Cheers.